17 minutes after 7 o'clock. 16 minutes after 7 o'clock. I want to read a couple of things as a way of getting into our conversation this morning. Both of them from print journalists. The first is by Karen Doley, who writes, organized crime accused Vusumuzi Kat Matlala allegedly told former police minister Bheki that he was approached to fund a project involving sideline police minister Senzo Mchunu, who hoped to be the ANC's president or deputy president. The figure who set up the Matlala meeting was subsequently murdered. Just take that in, right? Tick. The former police minister and national top cop Bheki has detailed how an alleged push for the ANC presidency is one of the many subplots making up South Africa's rapidly growing policing scandal. He's also confirmed that he twice stayed at Vusumuzi Kat Matlala's penthouse in Pretoria. And Dele says this man is no friend of his. And then I'm going to go to yet another piece. This one was written by Mondli Makhanya in the City Press on News 24. And he goes into some detail describing what we all saw at that ad hoc committee in Parliament as MPs investigate alleged infiltration of law enforcement. And he says, Dele said this, Dele said that, Dele says this. And I'm going to pick it up towards the end where Mondli Makhanya writes, by the time Dele was done, it was clear that Mchunu had been wrong on law, procedure, and common practice. Anyone listening to the man in the hat could not but help walk away asking what drove Mchunu to conduct himself in this way. But Dele failed to acquit himself of wrong. He admitted to knowingly cavorting with somebody who he discovered was part of an unsavory world, and that he'd accepted an expensive gift in the form of free luxury accommodation from this person. I can paint to any number of examples of politicians and people in positions of seniority in our politics, in our government, who have accepted similar largesse from questionable characters. The current ANC Secretary General is failing to explain why he received a sponsored trip by the cigarette mogul, Mazotti. What country have we become? Somebody who's been warning about all of this for many a year is my guest this morning, Prince Mashele, the author and analyst. As always, a pleasure to see you.
Thanks, Bongani, for inviting me. I don't know what sins I've committed to deserve this.
But we all love being right, but sometimes it's painful to be right.
I hate it. I hate it because I have been trying to warn the country for many years. And in fact, when I started back in 2009, around that period, I actually was treated like a pariah.
I remember.
Yeah, I was insulted. Even in my village in Bushbuckridge, by the way, people who go to my mother and say, has your son become mad? Please talk to your son. But everything that I warned the country about has come to pass. But let's just forget about me and focus on the country. This is where we are, Bongan. The biggest liability for South Africa today is the African National Congress, the ANC. I know people who scream and they want to jump out of their cars, but I'll tell you the truth. Over a period of time, there are two categories of human beings that have realized that the ANC is an instrument and a source of enrichment. Two categories. Category number one, incompetence. So if you are incompetent, you have no skill somewhere in a community, the quickest way to find a job in a municipality or in government, you join the African National Congress and you attend a few meetings with comrades and you get a job. So that's the first category. So that category is not as dangerous because they just want jobs. The second category is the most dangerous category of human beings, criminals. Criminals have realized if you want to make big money in the state, you bribe an ANC politician and you will eventually take over the state and run it, and you will be the king of tenders. That is where we are. So, and the ANC is the easiest route into state resources. So you will never fix South Africa if you don't remove the ANC from the center of the state. The ANC has broken the state and it has broken our society. That's the summary of it.
The difficulty with putting all of this at the door of one party, one organization, is, if anything, last year told us voters are looking elsewhere. We may not like the ANC today because of some of the reasons you've pointed out, but how certain are we that what is to come next isn't even worse?
No, we're not certain, because you see, there are two political parties on the opposition side of things that are parading as alternatives to the ANC. That is the EFF and Umkhonto weSizwe. These two political parties are actually the ANC. We know them. Look at their leaders. You will see they come from these are factions that have broken out of the ANC. So the ANC cancer is there in Umkhonto weSizwe. So Umkhonto weSizwe, the day they take over KwaZulu-Natal, I pray that God helps that province. The day the EFF take over South Africa, if they were to take over South Africa, I can tell you it will be the perpetuation of the same thing. Look at the history of Julius Malema, by the way, and Limpopo and tenders. So the ANC is not just the fragment that is left in the Tula House. Even Umkhonto weSizwe and the EFF are part of the ANC, and they are as rotten as that what remains in Umkhonto weSizwe, in Lutula House.
Why is Julius Malema catching strays? He's never been convicted of any of those alleged scandals. You can go back to On Point and all of that. He's never been convicted of anything.
No. And I've answered that question. Go and read Thuli Madonsela's report, by the way, which Julius Malema did not challenge in court, which made damning findings against On Point, leading to the collapse of the finances of Limpopo as a province. By the way, Limpopo was taken over by the national government. Julius Malema did not challenge that. Just go read that. And the public protector is an official office, not some allegations. So there is evidence of Julius' involvement in wrongdoing. But park that. The gist of it is this. Our state has been captured by criminals using the African National Congress. That's the summary of it.
So we are now at a point where we could very likely become like the countries that you see in much of Latin America, where that intersection between criminal cartels and networks and overlords and politicians, and even lately we're hearing allegations of members of the judiciary being or accepting bribes, and the fact that so many politicians, without blushing, openly admit to supping with unsavory figures.
You are very slow, Bongani. You say we are becoming. We are already a Colombia. Go to any municipality. This is what you will find. The guys who get tenders from that municipality work with the municipal manager and the mayor and the MMC. Everywhere across the country, the construction mafia have connections with the local politicians. It goes from the local level all the way to the national level. We are already a Colombia.
Right.
We're not becoming.
I'll paraphrase a line from one of my favorite movies, As Good as It Gets, where he says, "We are drowning," or "I am drowning and you are describing the water." If South Africa is drowning, let's not you and I describe the water. How do we get out of here?
First, the formula is not complicated. First, South Africans must remove the ANC democratically from power. That's formula number one. Number two, appoint a guy like Mkhwanazi to be national commissioner, someone who has demonstrated that they are honest. Three, you must categorize politicians as a special project. They must be investigated with their criminal networks, and you must arrest them. And the TV cameras must be there when they are arrested so that society can see. Third, address quality education for black people. Fourth, and this is the most important part, look for leaders on the basis of merit, education, and ethical integrity. That's the formula.
If we look at the political landscape and you say to us that the EFF and MKP are incarnations of their former party, the ANC, from which they broke away, and you're saying that's the problem that the society faces, in terms of the available options for people to vote for, you've really only got, what, the DA, Action SA maybe, and one or two smaller parties.
Look,
are you saying people should vote for the DA? Is that what you're saying?
No. You are mentioning the DA. I didn't mention the DA.
I know.
Yeah,
but let's just look at that landscape. If you cancel those three, what's left?
No, look, I'm not obsessed with the colors of T-shirts, political colors of T-shirts. If you listen carefully to what I'm saying, I am saying go to society and look for leaders on the basis of education stroke merit plus ethical integrity. That kind of character is not an exclusive preserve of the DA. That is a South African phenomenon. Will that character be... That character is...
I understand what you're saying, Prince. All I'm saying is I'm looking at the realities of how our political system functions. We vote for parties. We don't look for individuals. And so if you take out these three, what it leaves you with, and I'm going to assume you don't mean the fringe parties on the right, what it leaves you with, as close to the center as possible, would be, what, Action SA, the DA, and a couple of other smaller parties.
Let me be blunt about the DA, by the way. If you used my instrument, a guy like John Steenhuisen wouldn't qualify. He's not educated.
What does that leave us with?
Yeah. So you may find elements in the DA of what I'm describing. You may find elements in the ANC. If you find elements like that in the ANC who are not corrupt, who are educated, talented.
Prince, we don't vote for elements. Good. We vote for the whole thing.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Lock, stock, and barrel.
We have reached a moment where we must now think beyond. If it means you form a new political party, form it. But the defining character must be what I'm talking about. So the problem with most people is that they limit their imagination to the DA, the ANC, Action SA. No, I'm saying think beyond. We have reached a crisis. Let's go out into society. Let me tell you, even the ANC at some point historically reached that point. You know what they did? They went outside their party. They found a doctor. This is in the 50s. And say, look, we've looked within ourselves. We can't find a leader. And they found Moroka and brought him into the leadership of the party. So societies do get to a point where you reach a moment and say, look, we don't have within ourselves. Let's go outside. That's what I'm saying.
What happens if we don't? What happens if we don't read this moment and we don't understand the depth of this existential crisis?
We'll become a Nigeria. You see, people say Zimbabwe. No, there's a difference between Zimbabwe and Nigeria. South Africa's end game, if we don't address what I'm talking about, it's a Nigeria. It's a country that has collapsed, but there are pockets that function.
Prince Mashele, always a pleasure to have you on the show. We ignore those words at our own peril, don't we?
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions,
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.